but nobody went, "Oh, good morning" or "Hi," or it was very rare. And it's not that people are rude; it's just people are shy and they don't want to, get in anyone's way.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast, probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad, and we're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Dawson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing? What's going on?
I don't know what kind of state I'm in this morning, because as soon as you started the podcast, for some reason I just started waving, like the start of Family Fortunes or something. I just started waving at everyone. I don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. Chris, you seem to be very hot in your studio. You're currently drinking a Pocari Sweat. You've just turned off your air conditioning in the studio in the old Tokyo district of Japan, and you are very, very hot. Chris, is it really kicking into gear, the old heat in the summer? The summer heat? Right.
It is, although I had a breakthrough just this week. I did a video, a friend of mine, Mudan, he's the editor and the secret king behind the throne of the Trash Taste Empire as their editor. He edits all of Trash Taste, Connor, Joey, even American Pete. And he came around here and he's doing this thing at the moment. He's in Japan, he's doing daily vlogs every single day. And he's succeeded in a way that I could only possibly dream of. He has done a vlog every single day. Check him out, Mudan. But he came to the studio, and I gave him a tour, as I have done many times before over the last 3 years. And when we got to this section, the ramen shop section that's been here, since 2021 now, late 2021, I was like, there's 4 air conditioning units up behind the bar, and they're all plastic fake things, right? And interesting, there's cables where you plug them into the wall, and the wall sockets are also fake. And I was like, oh yeah, these are rubbish, they don't work. And I went, wait a minute. And I pulled out the fake wall socket, plugged it into a real socket, and the fans are fully operational fans. All 4 of them, for 3 years, have just sat there as I thought plastic toy props, but they're real fucking ramen shop fans, all 4 of them. And I had no idea.
Are they proper air cons? Or are they
If you're on YouTube, I'll show you.
Okay,
I'll turn the camera and break the podcast.
Oh, wow.
There we go, we're going up.
Okay, we're going up. Oh, they're like extractor fans for the...
Yes.
But where do they go? Where do they extract the hot ramen, the hot podcast steam?
I think that's the one floor they just pump back into the ramen shop.
Right, okay, yeah. They just get really hot and make the whole place even hotter. That's amazing. I love discovering new things about something you've had for absolutely ages. I mean, like you said, I imagine they're absolutely useless, but what are you going to do, eh?
I put it on, and the most amount of dust and asbestos I've ever had in my face blew straight out. Because for 3 years they've just been building up full of shit. And I sort of switched on. I was like, it's a miracle, they work. Asthma attack. So I'm not going to put them on again in a hurry. But for this scenario now, where I have to switch off the aircon for the podcast, because the microphone will bloody pick it up, I could maybe put them on and have a nice dusty...
nice dusty ramen breeze. I wonder if they were kind of liberated from an actual ramen shop, because it's the sort of thing that you would see sort of discarded in the street outside a ramen shop, isn't it?
I do wonder. But honestly, it's so cool that even now, 3 years on, or whatever it is, that we can still find interesting stuff in the ramen shop. And it's fun to discover that with folks that come here as well. So who knows? You've never been here still, actually.
Still not been here. No, I'm waiting until those snacks and sweets that you've got in the little sweet shop round the corner. I want them to expire by 2 or 3 years before I even dip a toe, kick a ball.
They have long expired. I think about 3 years ago. Most of them. Don't eat them. Let's not have another
don't eat them.
Plague unleashed upon the world. We got a story this week from Michael from the Netherlands.
Michael
says, hello, Affable Chris and Party Pete. I'm 32 years old, and I decided to go back to school 2 years ago and start learning Japanese full-time. Last March, a delegation of 7 Shiga University students and their teachers visited our school to observe Dutch education. Some classmates and I volunteered to show them around for the week. It was a lot of fun. Although I'm shy speaking Japanese, I managed to decently communicate. One day, though, while I was walking with their teacher, who's probably in their 40s, we talked about how I would be much older than the other students. She reassured me that if I showed that I did my best to master the language, I would be accepted despite the age gap. She said she wished that Japanese society was more flexible about changing careers and returning to study. And when I asked her about her opinion about the Netherlands, she grinned and mentioned how interesting it was that you could get drugs. I was... Of course she did. I was pretty stunned, as I hadn't expected her to answer like that, and she found my reaction very funny. I later learned from her students that she'd gone out drinking some nights while the students remained in the hostel. It sure sounds like she was making the most of her short trip here. The teacher's comments stay with me, though, and I wonder, do you think many Japanese people want to adopt a more individualistic lifestyle but don't dare to express it due to their hierarchical and strict society? Keep up the good work, guys. Michael from the Netherlands. And I'd love to watch that woman stumbling around Netherlands, high as a kite, having a whale of a time.
Bifters in every hand. Bifters in every crook of the finger. 5 bifters on the go at the same time. Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, to be honest, if you're going to go from near bifters to a bifter, you're going to be sick. You're not going to feel very well. And, you know, we've both witnessed Japanese people having a crack at that sort of thing and not feeling great about it, to be honest. But yeah, I like the fact that I like the teacher, the naughty teacher, just sneaking out of the hostel on the dead of night and just having an absolutely cracking time. She sounds like a lot of fun.
CBD's all the rage in Japan at the moment. I recently went to like a CBD bar, and the stairs to the bar, and it's like a few stories up a building, their stairs weren't operational. Sorry, the elevator wasn't operational. The stairs were fine.
You just floated up there, like, because you were so high on
technology. Floated up high as a kite. But I mean, we got up there and they were like, "Oh, sorry, the elevator's not working. Have a CBD cookie." And it was a cookie that had 25 milligrams of CBD in it. And I still don't know if CBD really does anything. My thinking is, if it did actually have an effect, the Japanese government simply wouldn't allow it. They're hard line on drugs. But I did have the cookie, and I did feel a little bit relaxed in a way that I didn't envision. Because Joey bought me some CBD gummies once, like a big pot of gummy bears with CBD, and he's like, "Oh yeah, mate, you need these to try and relax more." And I had them. And you're supposed to have like 3 or 4, and I had the whole fucking box. And he was like, "Oh my god, you had the whole box!" And they did nothing. So when I had the cookie, I was like, "It was just a cookie. It tasted nice." But then I did feel quite knocked out. Although I might have been the fact I hadn't slept in 4 days, and I just had a massive burrito. So it swings from that. You never know. You never know, do you?
Nature's CBD, a massive burrito.
Burrito.
Do you want to come to my CBD lounge? You're just serving massive burritos? Yeah, it's stodgy, aren't they? They'll make you fall asleep. I think, so over here we also have the old, we went absolutely wild for CBD stuff. Whenever I get one of those honey poke balls from North London, I always have, for some reason, the only cans they sell are CBD cans. But I mean, there's no THC in them. There's not really much of an active ingredient, so it is just a thing that kind of mellows you out a very, very small amount. I can kind of feel a little bit of a kind of a relaxing buzz from it. But yeah, you're right. Nothing really serious. And you're right. I mean, if there was anything to them, the Japanese governments would have banned them ages ago. Because I remember trying to find vape juice in Tokyo. Bearing in mind how ubiquitous smoking is out there and how much they absolutely love a tab, it was really hard to find vaping, stuff with actual nicotine in them a few years ago. So I think that will be a much slower process getting bifters on the go. But maybe Japan will surprise us and start legalising it. Quicker than the British, because there are a lot of ex-footballers like Matthew Letizia, who has his own issues, to be honest. He spends all of his time kind of advertising CBD gummies because that's kind of how old footballers make money out over here. That and
I'll be there one day. It'll be Chris's CBD
selling Chris's chicken. CBDs. Yeah.
CBD fried chicken. Going back to Michael's question, though, which we've completely circumnavigated. Social mobility in Japan, it's a really difficult country to sort of switch careers. There's no doubt about that. The mindset here is to choose your career, become very good at it, do your best, and then retire around the age of 150. And that's the way Japan works. There's no doubt it's tough. And when I talk to people like Natsuki, Although I don't know what Natsuki's transferable skills are to go from beauty salon to be fair, he's a good performer. I think he's a performing role. But, yeah, no, there's no doubt. Tough society. Even without the individualistic stuff, it's just a difficult society to switch jobs and switch roles. And, yeah, they have issues there across the board. And don't know if that really ties into this week's news story, though. But this week's news story is this is a really weird kind of study as well, or survey. I don't know if I agree with it, but Japan ranked worst country in the world for helping strangers, which is a bizarre story to read out on the podcast, where every week it involves a Japanese stranger helping somebody on a train or a bus.
Yeah.
Pete, fill us in. What's going on? Why is Japan ranked the worst in the world for helping strangers?
Well, I mean, that's the tenor of our argument. Why is it? I think if I saw a news story that said, Japan loves tattoos, that would be another subject that we get in every email torrent. Apparently, Japan ranks as the worst country in the world when it comes to helping strangers, according to Charities Aid Foundation, CAF, World Giving Index for 2023. The index ranks 142 countries in 3 different categories: donating money to charity, helping a stranger, and volunteering time. In the help a stranger category, Japan ranked last, 142nd out of 142 countries. 21% of the population has helped someone that they didn't know in the past month. They didn't really fare much better in the other category. 16% donating money and 17% having volunteered in the last month. Japan's ranking obviously not great, but the annual report measures responses in terms of a country's population size. So the population at over 124 million means that in terms of numbers, 21% of the population who helped a stranger in the past month equates to 26 million people. So, I mean, why haven't they done percentages, ranking, ratioing up the amount of people that are actually in the country? That seems weird. Well, I don't really know why that's kind of a part of
right? It's a standard thing, isn't it, to do it per capita in the same way you would measure GDP per capita. America's the wealthiest country by GDP, but per capita,
I think I've missed the point of the of that sentence. I think they're sort of saying, well, that's still quite a lot of people, even though it's quite a small percentage of the people. But I mean, anecdotally, every single week people are being helped by strangers. But maybe it is like a person who lives there versus tourist rather than them helping each other. Obviously charity isn't a big deal out there, which obviously would cut you down a little bit, but I think it's a real surprise that they're saying that nobody's helped anyone in recent memory. Very, very strange.
I mean, some explanation. I think it's mainly because people keep to themselves in Japan, and it's people don't want to get involved, they don't want to be obligated, but like if you ask someone for help, they'll always help you. They really will. It's just people are quite shy and a bit sort of like, oh, I can just keep walking, I can ignore this, maybe the next person will sort of deal with it. But then when called upon, people are very helpful. But I don't know. I always distrust these surveys. What I do know is like donating money. The idea of donating money isn't as prevalent in Japan as it is in the West, and there's all sorts of reasons. I mean, on a religious level, Shintoism and Buddhism, there's no real emphasis on giving money or donating money.
Right.
As there is in sort of Christianity, where God, for some reason, needs an awful lot of money.
Got to build them churches.
God needs a bit more money. He's all powerful, but he could do with a couple more quid, couldn't he? Whereas, in Japan, also there's a strong cultural emphasis on sort of humility and modesty. And publicly donating large sums of money is maybe seen as boastful, goes against those values a little bit. So there's a few factors, I think, but certainly in the 2011 Tohoku earthquake tsunami disaster, there was a lot of donations, a lot of great charity work there, as there was in January with the recent earthquake as well. So we do see it, but yeah, I guess maybe it. I don't know. I guess it's just mainly down to those reasons, though. Any other thoughts on your part? We both of us have experienced the kindness of strangers numerous times, and you don't have to worry if you come in Japan. People are very kind and very helpful. We've talked about
it. Takes me back to
people have made maps and things for us. I'd win.
Yeah, exactly. It takes me back to being in the airport in I think Osaka Airport. trying to find the internal terminal. What do you call it? The internal terminal. And I think I was saying kokonai taminaru, and I must have said it about 15 times into this woman's face, and she was so calm and so kind of like, I was so late for my flight, and I was like, kokonai taminaru, and she was like, okay, don't really know what you're saying there. Okay, we're just going to try and figure out what you mean. So I'm doing all of the aeroplane signals and all that stuff. And like, everyone's just really patient and really nice. So yeah, up yours survey. People just are hiding their light under a bushel, and I think the figures should reflect that.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of... I never forget when I went to the Bahamas, and I think the Bahamas or Jamaica's like ranked number one friendliest.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah. But, like, maybe also in the survey, people in Japan are a bit more humble with how they reply. I don't know. Like, you know. But when I was in the Bahamas, there's no doubt, walking down the street, everyone said hello. People felt like they sort of felt compelled to interact with you as you're walking down the street in the Bahamas. And whereas in Tokyo, nobody feels compelled to talk to anyone in the street. And even when I went back to Yamagata last week to see Natsuki, and I was in the very rural place... You know, I'd be walking down the street, it would just be me, and like a woman would walk past, or man, but nobody went, oh, good morning, or hi, or it was very rare. And it's not that people are rude, it's just people are shy and they don't want to, you know, get in anyone's way. It's a weird way of seeing things, but yeah, I think people see it as an inconvenience sometimes to greet people. They feel like there is an obligation. If you start an interaction with someone in the street randomly, maybe there's an obligation to interact and talk more. And certainly if you're foreign, then maybe there's a bit more pressure there with the language barrier that people are afraid of. Like on the trains, you know, when people ride the train and the seat next to you, if you're a foreign traveller, the seat next to you on the train is always empty. It's not that people are allergic to foreign travellers or are scared or whatever. It's more like they just feel like, oh, what if something happens and I'm called upon to help them or interact in a language of which I'm not able to interact in, you know.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of factors. I'd say shyness, but yeah. So I feel like maybe the title of the study is just the way it is phrased sounds very negative, right? Japan ranked worst in the world for helping strangers, because I really feel like it's not a fair description of the country. I don't know.
I would sort of look at I look at the bottom 10 helped a stranger. One of them is Serbia, with 40%, which is still quite high. I mean, if I helped strangers 40% of the time, that's quite helpful in a way. I found a lady's security pass and bank card in Serbia in the street, and I managed to track her down on Facebook, and I messaged her and I said, I've got your cards, if you need them just let us know, and then she didn't get back to me, and then by the end I just sort of hid it in a wall and then filmed where I was and showed her where the security pass was, and she never replied. I don't think she ever found a security pass. She probably doesn't even. She's probably never even seen the video.
She's probably scared.
But I felt, she's probably scared. I'm going, I've got your security cards.
It's in a wall. I think she was alley.
I think she was an international netball player. I think she was weirdly... I managed to sort of locate her because she was a famous international netball player.
So now I'm
stalking famous
Don't interact with people because they'll stalk you and put your fucking card in a wall.
I wouldn't care near where... I'll put your stuff in a wall.
I'll put you in a wall with your card. Well, it's fucking mortifying.
Well, I put it... the building that I hid the cards in was like it had been like half knocked down, so it was like a derelict building next to a strip club. So obviously the most least salubrious part of town as well. Never mind.
Jesus.
Serbia.
I've learned never help anyone today because, funnily enough, a minute ago before I came, I was like at the Tokyo station, and I was saying goodbye to my friend Regan. He went off, went through the just as we sort of said goodbye at the speaker card gates. We get on the train, and an old man walked past, and a card fell out of his pocket, and I think it was a hotel key card for like a door on a hotel. And I was like, oh shit, Regan, he's dropped his card. If you can catch up with him and get back to him. He was like, oh yeah, mate, he got the card. And he ran through the gate, and he went up to the man, and I could see the interaction. Regan was like holding this card, and he was like, oh, this one. And the man was like looking around, and he was like, no, not mine. And it was definitely his. He 100% fell out of his pocket. And he was like, no, it's not mine. And Regan just looked really bewildered, and he was like, "What the fuck am I going to do with this car that's obviously yours that you don't want to have back now? Been tainted by the floor or something?" And so he had to like hand it into the desk at the train station. I'm just standing there laughing my head off at poor old Regan who's trying to help this man. A man that does not. The man was probably in his like late 60s, early 70s, quite old. Clearly didn't want to interact with this strapping young Australian man as well, wearing a vest top. That's probably why I didn't want to touch it. This thuggish Australian man.
Hello, mate.
Yeah.
I've got your card. I would have just eaten it in front of him. Yeah, you don't want it? I'm eating it. See you later. You're going to be thinking about this. When you find out that you've lost your card, you're going to be thinking of me eating your card, aren't you? So, well done. Buck up, mate. Every day's a school day.
It was just a really weird interaction. I said to Regan as he handed it in the desk, I was like, "We've learnt today, never help anyone, Regan. Never help anyone." So that's what we've learned from that. We'll be back in just a moment, guys, with your stories, comments and questions over in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What have we got this week from our listeners? Mr. Donaldson.
James from Canada has got in touch. Hi, Chris and Pete. I'm going to Japan by myself in a couple of weeks, and I was considering staying in a love hotel since they seem pretty nice for the cost, judging by Chris and Connor's videos. Do you think they would have any issue with some tourist dude staying by himself for over a week, since I'm very much not using the hotel for its intended purpose? Do they even offer long-term stays like that? Thank you, James from Canada. They kind of do, don't they, Chris? I've seen sort of love hotels that you can sort of book for week after week, really.
Yeah, no, a lot of love hotels have switched to being regular hotels.
Yeah.
It's quite unsettling because you can tell they were former love hotels. They're a bit dirty and a bit there. And you go and it's like, this doesn't look like a regular hotel, and so something's off. So,
Don't get your black light out.
Well, I personally wouldn't do it, but each to their own. Each to their own. I don't think they'll have any issues with you staying for a week, though. Like it's the policy, unless
Perfect.
you. With a normal love hotel, though, where, you go in and it's a finite amount of time, you can't stay for a week. You can't reserve it. You turn up. You choose if you want to stay for like a couple of hours or for the night, and then you get thrown out at the end of it. So you couldn't stay there for a week. But if you go on like Booking.com or wherever, you can see it'll often say like adult only in brackets. It'll be like hotel XYZ, adult only. And that's how you know it was often formerly a love hotel. Usually.
I stayed in a love hotel in Korea. I think it was. Yes, it was a love hotel, definitely, and in Seoul, and I it had a sexy bath, and the screen between the bedroom and the bathroom was a sexy window because everyone wants to watch their partner do a shit, and it had two PCs, two gaming PCs in the room. 2 screens, 2 tower systems, 2 mice, 2 keyboards. Jesus. Not a clue, because the family that plays together stays together. Yeah, and it was loaded with Hollywood dubbed films and some erotica. Very, very strange.
Fun for the whole family. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
When I stayed in Korea in Gangnam, I stayed in a hotel that quickly became apparent it was a former love hotel. Exact same thing. Right. But I didn't have a gaming computer, and so I feel a bit left out now. But I remember walking through and being like, this is not a normal hotel. Why does the bed vibrate? Why is there a karaoke microphone that is not a karaoke microphone? Yeah, it was a lot. It was very surreal.
What? It wasn't a karaoke microphone. What was it then, Chris? Did you press a button? Did it do a little jiggle? Oh,
we don't want
Chris.
to know. But yeah, and also I've noticed that love hotels in like Osaka are very odd. Some of them, they don't like it when 2 guys go in. It's still quite common.
Yes.
Like as Connor and I found, we went in our video, and I put him in a wig, and he was able to get around it because the security cameras staff couldn't tell that it was, in fact, a guy wearing a wig and glasses. It was a very surreal experience,
lady.
to be honest. Yeah, so he wore this wig, and we got around it. But when he didn't wear the wig, we couldn't get in together a lot of the time because 2 guys equals no for a lot of love hotels.
No.
But there was one love hotel in Osaka that was LGBT friendly, and it was all over the signage. And Cora and I went in, and this woman like popped out of a cupboard, and she was like, "Oh, gay, yeah, you're gay. Let's go. I've got a special room for you." And just kept being like, "Yeah, gay people, yeah." And it was like, "All right, calm down. It's great. This is what we need, not sucker. But let's calm down." And Cora and I were too scared to go in because she was like adamant that we must go to this room together. The special
so you need something in between. You don't want a cheerleader.
Yeah,
you just want anonymity for a bit of consensual sex.
It was a bit like patronising. Like she was like, "Oh yeah, whoa, well done, congratulations, 2 men." And it was
do you think they were? Do you think she had a stimulus from the management team just to get the pink pound? I need to get more LGBTQ plus in here.
There was something going on.
This could be our USP.
But good, it was LGBT friendly. Just didn't need a woman in the fucking hallway shouting and screaming, because most love hotels are supposed to be discreet, right? And see nobody, and so it felt a bit weird.
Can you when you're in one love hotel room, can you hear? Because obviously it's built for one purpose only, really, and maybe like snooze in the afternoon. Can you hear people karaokeing and I'm going to say lovemaking?
It depends on which love hotel you go to. Some of them. So, no, but the love hotels, the rooms have very powerful fans. And at first it's like, ventilation, great. But it's not ventilation. It is essentially a noise-cancelling vent. It's a fucking powerful fan, like, roaring overhead. And I remember staying in one the first time. I switched it off. I was like, we don't need this. And I could hear clear as day the sounds of anything but karaoke going on in rooms above, below, to the side, and it was a bit wow.
What does karaoke? What does karaoke mean again? Silent disco or something?
Silent disco. Yeah, it was no silence, but yeah. So I put the fan back on. So yeah, when you walk into a love hotel and the fan's roaring overhead, that is why it's great noise cancelling.
Right.
We got
James going to have a sexy time.
Exactly. We got a question from Stephen from Pittsburgh. He says, "Greetings, Pete and Chris. I have never eaten sushi before, and I want my first sushi experience to be in Japan. Good choice. Should I go for high-end, conveyor belt restaurant, mum-and-pop shop, or even a convenience store? What is the best choice for a sushi first-timer? Thanks. I love the podcast. Steve from Pittsburgh, USA. Best sushi, I would say go to Sushi Zanmai. It's a chain, it's a mid-tier sushi chain, and they specialise in tuna. And the guy that runs it is called the Tuna King. He's a very burly man. He's called Kiyoshi Kimura. And I love the photo. Every store you go in, there's a big, like, plastic, like, Tuna King man with his arms outstretched. And then there's a photo on the wall of him doing the exact same pose, surrounded by 500 women. It's bloody ridiculous, man. But the tuna is top-notch. Famously, Sushi Zanmai always used to bid at the New Year's auctions for the best cuts of tuna. And so they spent like $3 million on one tuna one time, mainly for PR. It's all a bit silly, but amazing. To this day, I can't find tuna that's better. I've been to like a Michelin star restaurant where the sushi was marginally better, but it was like 10 times the price. So I'd say go there. And that gets my vote. Maybe Hamazushi if you want a conveyor belt.
If you're kind of if you're just a bit lost, I would go to big international hotels like that are like 1 million rooms and about 50 floors. Yeah. There's usually like some pretty decent restaurants floating around. And just look, if you want like a proper like 200, 300 quid meal that you just know is going to be good. I mean, it's punchy, but they're usually pretty good in those hotels because they're there for entertaining clients.
And the other chain, I thought of is Sushiro. Sushiro is the good chain, and Sushi Zanmai is the mid-tier chain. To be honest, I don't really go to those high-end sushi places though, where the chef cooks it and prepares it before you, watches you eat it. Like famously, that what's his name? Sushi. Oh, I've forgotten now. Jiro Sushi. They did the rounds after that documentary a few years ago, Jiro Dreams of Sushi, and I met some people that went there, and half of them really liked it, and half of them felt very uncomfortable because old Jiro would just sort of stand there and watch you devour the sushi. And
scream.
And scream at you. If you didn't like it, you'll be going out a fucking window. So, yeah, it's not my favourite atmosphere to enjoy sushi. And our last question today is from Freddie from Indonesia, who says, "Hello, K-Car Chris and Toyota Century Pete. I lived in Japan for 2 years, from 2018 to 2020, as a master's student at Shizuoka University. Having recently learned to drive, I'm interested in knowing more about your vehicles. Pete, you mentioned that you can only drive automatic cars. Is the old Toyota you bought from Japan an automatic transmission, or are you able to drive a manual now? Chris, what's happened to the K car? I'm curious about the fate of your beloved car. Many thanks to you both. Best regards, Freddie from Indonesia. Pete, spoil us. Tell us if it's an automatic or not.
It is an automatic, and it's ideal really for me because it's right-hand drive. They did make, I think, about 7 left-hand drive ones, and that was mainly for like diplomats who were abroad, I think. There's 3 models of the Toyota Century. The one that was in the 80s up to about 96, 97. Then there's the second generation. That's the one that I've got, and that's the one you see on like TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. And that goes up to about 2017. So the model that I have was around for like 17 years really, and now it's like a mad sort of SUV monstrosity, which I'm really not interested in at all. But it's quite interesting that there were very few improvements. Maybe a reversing camera in the last 10 years.
Can it drive itself?
So yeah.
Can the Toyota
it can't drive itself. I saw this Chinese car that you could
see what happens.
see what happens. Well, I think the bearings are a bit off, so it'd probably put me into the central reservation, Chris. To be honest, there's a lot of jiggle in that wheel. But I think with an old car like that, you do find yourself kind of. You do find yourself in a situation where you are kind of just putting up with a lot of like weird stuff. I bought myself a new steering wheel, which is quite liberating. They say from Dubai, somebody was breaking down a Century, and I've got a nice wooden steering wheel now, so I need to fit that. I'm just very scared of the of what's the thing that explodes when you enter a crash situation?
Airbag.
Airbag. I'm just scared the airbag's going to explode in my face. You've got to be very careful.
Asbestos
disconnecting the battery and stuff. It does not have
airbag.
Why would it have asbestos?
It's made in like the 70s or something ridiculous.
It's made in like the 70s, yeah, of course.
It is. It's asbestos airbag. The best kind of airbag. As for my K car, I actually went and drove it just last week for the first time in 6 months, and I'll be giving an update on the car in that video that's coming out very soon on the Abroad Japan channel. It's going to be a fun one, that. Keep the stories, questions, comments coming in to abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com or right away in the YouTube comments below. But for now, guys, have yourself a great few days, and we'll see you right back here to do it all over again on the Abroad Japan podcast. Bye for now. Have a good one.
Ta-ta.